Good morning. It's December. How did that happen? How did we survive this year up to this point? But here we are, knee deep in the holidays. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about holiday events. And we're going to talk about the Thanksgiving aftermath. Well, it is the Monday after Thanksgiving. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, that it was quiet. You didn't have to do a lot of traveling. Your weather cooperated and everything ended up at the table at the right time. For us, it was a very easy, breezy Thanksgiving. I was in charge of the turkey, the gravy, and the stuffing because those are the things that I want to be done my way, because I am old and things have to be done a certain way. And then Sam did the potatoes, Julia did the beans, and pies were distributed equally amongst us. It was a great meal. I will say that gravy is probably the most important part of the meal because it's the carrier for all the other things. And we are a family of gravy lovers. In fact, my dad used to make gravy boats, which is what he called with all the food on his plate, and he'd scoop out this large center caldera, as it were, and pour 3 cups of gravy in there. So running out of gravy is something I need to avoid at all costs. So I mercifully and happily, on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I read an article about Anthony Bourdain's perfect turkey gravy. Now, it required the purchase of 2 turkeys, which I did not do. However, he had some other tips in there. I don't remember what they are, but it made the gravy so much better. And my gravy was really good this year. So thank you, Mr. Bourdain, for leaving us this wonderful information. As I said, we are moving into the holiday time, which means everyone around here is busy. Julia she's finishing up school in 3 weeks. She will get her MBA. Yay! Let's all hear the cheers. Sam he's got a concert tonight, a concert tomorrow night, a rehearsal Thursday night, because wait for it, he's been asked to perform at the temple in Beverly Hills where he sings High Holy Days. He's been asked to participate in a Jewish Wicked. Now, we didn't know what this was going to involve, and we still don't fully know. But yesterday when Sam was telling me about this gig, we were laughing like, what are they going to do? Are they going to put Tevye in as the wizard and Yenta as Mrs. Morrible? I mean, what is happening here? It's even better than that, because he got an email last night. One of the songs is called When I Meet the Rabbi. But that's not the best one. And believe me, I will fill you in on all the rest once we have all the information. But the best one is Schlepping Through Life. I'm telling you, Jewish Wicked may be the greatest thing to ever happen to this musical. We're going to see it again on Saturday. And I have to tell you what one of my friends said. Amanda, who is my co-snarker and friend, texted me yesterday. She says, oh my gosh, I took my kids to see Wicked for good. And she said, I'm just so involved with the sex cardigan. You guys, if you've seen the movie, you know that Alpha wears this really freaky, trashy looking cardigan when she and Fiyero are about to get busy in the As Long as Your Mind scene. She goes, it was blowing me away because these 2 guys are gay. They're both gay and they were so hot for each other. She says, I think it turned me gay on levels I don't even understand. And I'm like, same girl, same. So we're going to go see it again. And I'm going to check out the sex cardigan and see if I can knit that. Although it would be obnoxious because it would be on giant needles with giant yarn. And I am so not wanting to do that. Anyway, it's fun fun to think about. And as you can imagine, the knitting community is all agog with this. But I did want to tell you, one of the things I forgot to mention last week is that I have many, many friends who got to sing on the movie. And of course, it was all hush hush. They couldn't say anything until the movie was released. And then we started getting the pictures of the credits where the singers were named. And so this is just a few of the people I know and love who got to sing on Wicked. And what a great thing to put on your resume. They're the same people who sang on Wicked 1. We love them. Thank you for adding your voices. I listened to the soundtrack this weekend and it's really remarkable. And I have to say, Cynthia Erivo in No Good Deed Goes Unpunished just continuously knocks my socks off. So speaking of singing and choirs, I haven't caught you up on the whole Messiah situation. So as you know, back in November, we started rehearsing Messiah for our concert that is, I think, like the 23rd, 22nd of December. I mean, we're on a break now. So let me explain. The Long Beach Camerata Singers does Messiah every year, right? And every year, about 70% of the choir has done it a million times. But we always have newbies come in. And because our director, Dr. James Bass, Grammy Award-winning conductor, because he's very particular about certain things and he has a lot of stylistic changes, we get 4 rehearsals with the newbies to kind of get their socks on with everything. But the tricky thing is a lot of these kids, they're not necessarily kids. A lot of these singers have never sung Messiah before. And this is not the piece that you drop to someone who's never sung it before and say, you got 4 rehearsals, kid, go for it. Unless they're good singers and they do practice at home. But what I didn't tell you was that the second rehearsal, I brought the wrong glasses to rehearsal. I only had my distance glasses. And all I could say is, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have the wrong glasses. I can't really see the music. Oh, I'm so grateful I have this 98.4% memorized. There was only one point where I had to really enlarge it and go, oh, those are dotted eighth notes, and put them back down and go back. But that was very traumatic. So needless to say, I have prepared a choir bag now with a pair of glasses in it that no matter what, I will always have glasses. I have choir glasses. I have reading glasses. The glasses situation. Well, you heard about my progressive fiasco. That's not happening. These eyeballs need one thing at a time. That's what I'm talking about. So we have Messiah coming up again we have our dress rehearsal on Monday, and then the next Friday. But meanwhile, nobody is singing Messiah for like a month. Actually, I prefer it I don't prefer the large gap, but I prefer putting a concert together in 4 or 5, 4 rehearsals, a dress, and a performance. That to me is the choir sweet spot, unless it's a piece I don't know. Like I would not do the Bach B minor mass with 4 rehearsals. I did that about 12 years ago. Wow. That was a musical experience that I will never regret. And I have never worked harder to learn a piece of music. Holy cow. I digress. Let's talk books. On Saturday and Sunday, I finished all 3 books. So I finished, the first one I finished was God of the Woods. Great book. To whomever of you who said, just do it, read it, you'll love it. I did. I loved it. Very, very complicated and interesting murder. And I must admit, it was the book I wanted to get back to and keep reading. So we finished that. Then 5 hours later, I finished Circle of Days, the Stonehenge book by Ken Follett. Oh my gosh, is that good? First of all, it's just interesting to think about what life was like in 2500 BC. This is it's pre-industrial age, so they have no iron. Pre-Iron Age is what I'm trying to say. I'm a real historian. There's a pre stuff. It was really, it was before they had iron and stuff, and they made tools out of flint. It was fascinating, and to read how they moved. Now, granted, we don't know for sure this is how they did it. This is historians thinking they know how they moved all those giant stones into the circle. And it was just, Ken Follett is wonderful. And then Sunday, I finished The Everlasting. And I have to say, you guys, that may be one of my favorite books I've read all year. I loved this story. It was complicated because of all the time travel. And not complicated like I didn't understand what was going on, but complicated in that you never knew what was going to happen next. And these two characters, the scholar and the knight, are so lovely, and they're flawed and they're human. And I loved this book. Alex Harrow deserves all the props. So I went back on Goodreads yesterday to kind of mark, or the other day that when I finished it, it has a 4.26 rating. And on Goodreads, if you have a book that's 3.88, it's probably a pretty good book. But when you get up to the 4 that means most people gave it 5 stars. It's that good. So I'm very excited about that. So naturally, I'm in a book hangover situation. I have some books lined up, but I'm not ready yet. You know, even last night, I started Good Spirits yesterday. And this is the seasonal romance. Look, you know how I feel about romance and the tropes and the kind of the way everything is just, you know what's going to happen. I don't want a Hallmark movie experience where I know what's going to happen. So I'm hanging in there with this. The premise is a young woman named Harriet is visited by the ghost of Christmas past, who happens to be a very attractive Irish ghost. And that's as far as I've gotten. We'll see. We will see. Everybody seems to love this book. We will see. But coming up on I think I'll check them out and see what's happening. I've got a bunch of historical fictions kind of queued up. The Secret Book Society by Madeline Martin is about I don't remember what era it is, probably in the 1800s, Britain, when women weren't allowed to read. So we have that. I haven't started it yet. That's just the premise. Everyone is really liking this book. There's a lot of buzz about it. I will check it out. It's a fairly new release, so just giving you a heads up on that. A book that came out in January that I had marked want to read, and I forgot about it until it came through my feed today on one of my reading books. It's called The Artist and the Feast by Lucy Steele. And this, you know, anything that involves art or artwork, painting, takes place in 1920s, and it's about an artist who wants to study with another artist in Provence. I mean, I'm sorry. Did someone say Provence? I am so down for this book. I will probably start this book today. And then another book came across my radar, one that I had marked at the beginning of the year as something I would want to read, but it was only recently released. It's a debut novel, and it's called Canticle, and it takes place in 13th century Bruges in Belgium. Of course, it was before Belgium was Belgium. And it's marketed as fantasy, magical realism, historical fiction. It sounds a little bit Song of Bernadette, meaning that there'll be religious visions and things like that. Oh, I will very excited to start that one. Anyway, that one was released in January of this year, so you might be able to find it at the library. Again, this is another book that has an incredible rating, as does the previous book I mentioned, The Artist and the Feast. So I have got a couple of books just waiting in the wings. And then, of course, last week I mentioned The Forget-Me-Not Library by Heather Weather. True story. In the middle of my book hangover, I started to listen to it. That was a mistake. It was just not the right time for that. So sadly, this has gone to the back of the line. Sorry, I'm weird. You know how it is when you read a book. That's why when we go to the library, we check out 75 books because we know this good. No, this one, yes. And, you know, we have to sort through them because we're never going to get through all the books we want to read in one lifetime. So we have to manage our reading. At least that's what I've come to. The knitting Christmas situation is very good. I just have my daughter's 2 Christmas things to knit, but I don't see her until the 31st. So I've got Lots of time. A new pattern was released yesterday by my favorite sock designer, Summer Lee, which is the next sock I'm going to knit after I finished Karstie's, and I will show you that one because it's going to be charming and delightful. May end up being a gift, but I just want to knit it because it looks so fun. We have made Christmas plans. We always talk about the fact that nobody needs gifts. The kids have everything. Lily's got 3 families feeding into her. She's got more stuff than she needs. William's got 2 families feeding in, and he only wants Roblox anyway because of his game. So he's easy. But the rest of us were like, why are we spending lots of money on things we don't really need and just as a sort of token? So Julia came up with this great idea. She says, we've always talked about doing experiences. When the kids were little, really little, I think John was maybe 3 and Robbie was 5, 6, and Julia was 8. We rented a cabin at Fish Lake in Utah. And we went up there with my sister, and it was so cool. It was freezing cold, like 0 degrees, really cold. So the lake had frozen, and it would moan. It would make as the ice shifted, and it was so cool. And my daughter remembers that. It made such an impact on her. She's like, we're going to do an experience. So we've rented an Airbnb in Big Bear, and we're going up to the mountains for 3 or 4 nights over New Year's, and we're very excited about this. We'll take the Snark beast, the Snarkle puppy, with us, Pondy. She hates driving in the car. I might have to drug her. We'll all be barfing at the end of climbing up that hill to Big Bear. We are all a little bit susceptible to motion sickness, so we'll be popping the Dramamine before we go up the hill. Karstie and Lily are coming down from Vegas. It's going to be a great time. So as we move into December with all the things that need to be done, the shopping, the wrapping, the prepping, if you still do Christmas cards, God bless you. I love getting Christmas cards. Do I send them? No, but I love getting them. Our tree is up. We're ready to go here. So I wish you a week of peace and health, few appointments, few deadlines, the minimalist amount of stress. Just ease into this month with joy and with music and song. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.